Hi, so what is good, ladies and gentlemen? This is Building in Public episode 23. That's nearly, 6 months now? This week's episode is about kind of the things that I've learned this week. So I've read 2 books, or I'm in the process of reading the second book, and they're both filmmaking related. So the first one was The Visual Story, which talked about conveying emotion and story within visuals and how each element within a frame plays a certain role to convey an emotion or a feeling or a story. How lines, how shapes, how colors, how lighting, how framing plays a role subconsciously on how we react and perceive images. I'm in a phase now where I'm getting into the pre-production of film. I want to pre-produce short films and narrative projects. I want to be producing well-edited films, well-created films that have extensive pre-production research, scripts, screenplays, cinematography. I want to practice the actual process of creating a film. So I'm reading books in that nature now. If any of you watching are into filmmaking, and especially the visual side of it, so cinematography and storyboarding, visualization, The Visual Story is a great book to read. And then the second book I'm reading now, which I'm about halfway through, is Film Directing Shot by Shot, and it goes through the whole process of creating a film. At the halfway point that I'm at least, it's talking about the whole process. So how an idea or a film idea concept starts to get into production, developing concept ideas and concept art for the final film that they're going to create. But pretty much Film Directing Shot by Shot goes through the whole process of how any director can direct a film and what tools and resources are at his disposal, and it talks about previs that some directors may use more of it, some directors may not use it at all. And then it talks about storyboarding and shot listing and the process of a director getting the final vision. So he might work with a concept artist, he might work with a storyboard artist, or he might work with a concept art team, and he might do his own storyboards that are a little bit more vague. So yeah, it goes about the process of that. And then it talks about continuity shooting and production, so how to shoot scenes in a continuity rhythm and editing style, so that when you shoot a scene, the editor has enough footage and coverage to play around with continuity. But also it talks about oneers as well, so unfragmented continuity. But it just talks about in general film theory and film structure in order to make a coherent story, and it is very interesting and I'm loving it. And I'm very, very much enjoying the process of reading about film. My next book is going to be probably cinematography theory and practice, because I have a thing about visuals. I love visuals, and I'm very excited to practice the visual side of things on these next projects. But I also want to get into sound, sound design and sound on set, because I was doing some research today about how they capture audio on set, and that is quite an extensive process as well. Not just gear wise, but knowledge wise. There is a lot of things that go into capturing good sound on set, and in general some of the fundamentals about sound is just very interesting topic. And in general, each of these topics of film are so deep that it's just amazing. It's fucking incredible, and I love learning about it. As I said, cinematography theory and practice, I want to read that. And then I also want to read The Filmmaker's Eye. Yeah, I want to read Painting with Light, or just in general lighting books, because I'm fascinated by light, and I love learning about how cinematographers use light and how they take advantage of bounce and diffusion, and how they manipulate daylight, how they manipulate outside interiors. All of it is just awesome. So I want to read some lighting books. I also want to read or learn a little bit about subtle VFX. So not necessarily in-depth visual effects, I'm not really too fussed about that. But I do want to learn about basic compositing and fundamental compositing side of things, so that I can just enhance my films a little bit more. And I think having a good basic foundational knowledge of VFX will be very helpful for me as an all-around filmmaker. And then I also want to read the book Story, which is by Robert McKee, I believe, which is about screenplay. I have read a few books about screenplays, but Story is obviously the holy grail. So yeah, in general, there's quite a few filmmaking books that I am going to be reading very soon, and I'm loving reading them and actually practicing them stuff. And I've also been playing around with a boom operator, so like I've put my mic on a stand and I'm like using it as a boom, and I'm gonna shoot a few scenes in like a proper like narrative fashion, just so I can practice like audio and just getting like dialogue editing and continuity editing down. So yeah, I'm excited. I've got a few projects coming up. I have started doing the pre-production of the short film that I'm going to do, but I don't know if the main actor is available, so I may pivot that a little bit to a different story and do a casting call. I also want to do a few photo shoots this week. I want to start like practicing lighting, cinematography, and in general, like I'm getting into a production phase now. Obviously I'm building the brand Bella on, and I did a lot of brand cleanup today. I spent a lot of time going through old notes of mine and old like brand values that I had written a few months back that I now came back to, and obviously they've changed a little bit and they've been improved, and now that I'm more clear on the brand and where I'm going with it, I'm much happier with what I've written now. Obviously, yeah, I mean, one of the things about being like very goal driven and having a lot of different things, especially like filmmaking when it's so extensive, so that like any pre-production project, whether it's a small like ad or like a music video or a film, it can go so deep, so you can get consumed with like very time consuming tasks. And obviously it's not just one thing, it's many different things, so you have to align like the pre-production with how you're going to do it practically. And then there's so much planning behind films, which is what I love about it, but it is time consuming. And then obviously building a brand, so I've got a lot of things on my mind, and I've mentioned this previously as well. I've got a lot of things on my mind, but staying organized and staying clean, going through my notes frequently and figuring out what I need to have, what needs to be implemented, and what's useful to me now has been like fundamental to my progress. I've also read Psycho-Cybernetics maybe a month ago now, maybe a little bit longer than that. I read Psycho-Cybernetics and a few other books in that like fashion, so like The Secret and stuff like that. But it talks about like rewiring your identity to achieve the things that you want and achieve the things that you will have, and becoming the person that achieves those things. I've been implementing this. I've been doing it for a while, but I have this book where I write my goals every day and I write who I am and my identity. And I've been writing for a while now about I love progress. Like I love progressing towards my goals, and I love being aligned with my vision. And I'm now at a stage where I'm starting to love action. Like I'm starting to love work. Like I love my work. I love work anyway. I'm at a point now where anything I do, I love progressing. Like it doesn't even feel difficult anymore. It doesn't even feel like a chore. I've gone over this like hurdle or this point. Everything I'm doing, because I know it has a purpose and it's moving me forward, it doesn't even feel like work. I'm just progressing. And because I've rewired my identity in a way that I love progress, I love that feeling, and I've been feeling fucking amazing lately because I'm in alignment, and I know that it's going to stay that way because I'm going to continue to keep myself in alignment. And it's just a very exciting thing. Like physically, I've been improving. I'm at the best stage I've ever been. I'm getting leaner again. And it's just like, for me, it's a very exciting period. I'm about to get my brand up and running. I'm about to start doing some productions for films. I'm doing photos. I'm doing things and I'm getting in the flow of things. And I love being in that state of like constant flow and work and progress and action. And for me, that is like the Zen state. Like I love doing and I love being. And yeah, I'm very happy about that. I'm very grateful to be in this position. Like I'm genuinely so grateful that I've figured out exactly what I want and exactly who I am, and I get to progress in those things. Like I'm so grateful that I found filmmaking and that I love filmmaking. I'm so grateful that I found my brand, my clothing brand, that I'm going to build and create and scale to massive levels. I'm so grateful for my personal brand, for this, like being able to document and log who I am becoming, and like having a documentary series kind of like, a few years from now, being able to see how I've grown as a person and how my perspective has grown will be so interesting to me, but to you guys as well. To see how I've progressed as a human being and how I started, I'm so excited to see in a few years' time when I'm mega successful and everything's come to fruition, looking back at these and seeing the growth. I'm so excited for that, and I hope that people are going to study, how I've changed over the years and how I've changed my perspective. And I'm so glad that I've got these podcasts that shows it. So in general, just very grateful for where I'm going. My podcast, my brand, my filmmaking, the gym. I'm so grateful for the gym and training. I'm so grateful that I found that, years back, and that has implemented a discipline and a perspective on work and action where, what you put in, you get out, and being disciplined pays off. And being disciplined and becoming the person that you want to be and acting that way is an amazing state to be in. But yeah, that's my learnings, reflections. So yeah, I was Building in Public, episode 23, and I shall see you next Monday.